about that? I've got a new wagon. The wheel's not going to fall off. So we're in the hives today, and we are going to just do a bit of consolidating, reduce the size of the brood chambers in some of these hives, which should have been done weeks ago. And judging by the activity and the humidity we have, if we with this humidity, if bees were not finding nectar out there, they would be clustered all up the front of the hive. But they're still busy, so they're bringing in something. It may not be an enormous of honey flow right now. Judging by the activity, it's okay. There's some honey flow going on, not a big one. But what we're going to do is consolidate these brood chambers and start the process of removing some of the honey, or at least setting it up to remove the honey later in the week. So let's see what we get. Okay, so our plan here is to, if there is something of significance here, to move the bees, make sure the queen is down below. We'll run this hive as a double brood chamber probably, so we're in a position to get this queen excluded down here. So let's see how things look. Now, because this is above a queen excluder, we don't have to do anything but take this off. If you lift that off, side. Now we can see this box has plenty of honey. Hopefully there's no brood up here, but there might be. If there is, we'll deal with that issue separately. But you see plenty of capped honey there. This will be a prime super to take off shortly. Yes, indeed. And this one looks like it's full of honey. So we'll have a quick look here as well. Second brood chamber, absolutely packed to the gills with honey. Let's have a look how much is actually in it. Okay, just put it down for a moment. We'll want to see if there's actually any brood in this brood chamber. That's full of honey. Probably has brood in it lower down. Oh yeah, there's brood in here. So we've got plenty of emerging brood here, but they are backfilling with honey as the brood emerges. Lots of capped brood in here. This is filling with backfilling with honey, but I want you to check to see eggs. Well, we could consolidate this to a second, but I want to keep it as a 2 brood chamber. So we could, if we wanted a single brood chamber, we could shake these bees down into the bottom super, but I'm going to leave it as a double brood chamber hive, because in this yard in particular in Hampden, I want a lot of double brood chamber hives, because I'm planning to put a lot of nukes on top of those big strong hives over the winter to help my nukes overwinter. So we've seen what we want to see in this. Still lots of brood, but lots of honey. So they certainly had packed on a lot of honey in this hive. So what we will do is put the funnel on here, on top. And we are going to shake these down into this chamber. And we'll set up this frame right here, which will end up as our upper brood chamber. So you can get the frames out here, Jordan, if you like. I'll get the first one out, and then you can start getting out the second to pass to me. Should be pretty much full of honey. Yeah. Or you can use your hive tool, probably be better than mine. Okay, so we don't know, the queen could possibly be up here, so to make sure she's not, they get shaken down there. Just to show, 1 second to one side, lots of frames like this, full of honey. I'll move the camera so we can get a better view. May not be able to hear me from here, but have a better view of what we're doing. So, now we know the queen is no longer up here. I'm shaking the bees into the, all bees down into the bottom brood chambers, the bottom two. Wait a minute. Okay. Okay. So, all bees are out. Excluder on, and now we know the queen is confined to these two bottom chambers as the brood chamber. We'll give them some room. We'll put the only partly filled super here, and just to make sure that we have a bit more room. So we want to make sure that this hive has plenty of room, because we've shaken the extra bees from a deep super down into here, which are plenty of bees. This super is about half occupied, so there's still plenty of room for them to occupy them more, to keep them busy. But we'll put another super of space in there just to make sure that we don't overcrowd them. An escape board on. Now the escape board, of course it's going to be a high lift. The escape board is a one-way door. So basically the bees can go through this hole and they can come out these 3 points, but they cannot figure out how to get back up. So it's a one-way door, so bees can go down, but they can't come back up. So I'll put the escape board on. Jordan, perhaps you can give me a hand lifting this up. If you take those two sides, I'll take these two sides. Lift. It won't work too hard. So now the bees are going to come out of this honey super and into the space below. And we'll put our escape board on there. I'm sorry, our inner cover. Try and make it defeat. The thing about a bee escape is we're now leaving this box totally undefended. So we have to make sure that it doesn't have leaks in it, that robber bees can come in. This should be pretty bee proof. Put a good heavy weight on there, a couple of heavy rocks. And we'll make now on the bottom of the back as well. And now we can come back 24 hours from now, there'll be no bees in here. Even if it had been full of 20,000 bees, there'd be next to no bees in here at all. So let's move on to the next hive, if it doesn't rain on us. This is one I really wanted to work on. So we've got a lot of work to do on this hive. With this hive, we've got no queen excluder on here at all. So we want to make sure, again, we're just going to convert it so that we've got brood down here, and we're going to take this honey off. But we're going to put these further down. So first of all, we've got to make sure the queen is further down, right down. Couple things. Stacking them up on the pallet behind us here. First of all, let's take these boxes off. These are certainly working up here. Might be 8 to 10 pounds of honey there. That's all full. So it's getting close to full. On the pallet. Okay, we're going to put these two boxes. No, that's okay. Actually, I'll do it from here. We'll do it together. Tell you what, I'll reach across. I'll do it together. Okay. And this is why the hobbyist beekeeper typically does not use deep supers as honey supers. Especially high up, it gets very heavy. Okay, so now we've got brood in these two brood chambers here. We're going to make sure we get the queen down there too, just in case she's up in one of these 5 supers. So we'll bring our extra over here. Still filling up the outside edges here. I don't see brood. We see the queen, of course, we can save us all the work. Just keeping an eye open for the queen, just in case. It's a slim chance, but she could be on the bottom edges here. This can come back off now. 1 second. Move this back to here. This is, we now know that the queen is down in here. This bottom 2 boxes are pretty overfilled. So if we just give this a shake, if you take one side of it through, I'm just going to tap it to the bottom. Okay, take that off. So we know the queen is down in here. We're going to put a queen excluder on in a minute, run a little bit of smoke on. Let the bees settle down a bit. Now the queen excluder can go on. And as well as these 3 honey supers put on here, that's probably more than enough room. A lot of bees pouring out here at the moment. We're going to have a bit of bearding on the front of this hive pretty soon. And it's just because of the smoke. We can, let's put that spare honey super on, just to give them some more room. I want to get it on before we have bees crawling up the outside. Okay, and then these 3 are going on in the place of those other 2. So let's get these 3 on. In the order, it should go off in reverse order. Put that one on. Way to go before these are filled with honey. But now what we can do is just close this hive up. So we're going to put the inner, is there an inner cover on? Oh yes, it's the So now what we have to do, we still want, this hive has now got all the room it needs, and the brood chamber is down to a double brood chamber. Continuing to grow nicely. Those 2 supers full of honey, they want to be put on another hive to get the rest of the bees off, because you don't want to be taking the box. Even though we've taken 90% of the bees out, we still don't want those in the garage. So we're going to put them elsewhere. And what we'll do, given that there's so few of them, what we could easily do is we'll take a hive like this one. Relatively low down. Mind you, I'd rather do one that wasn't foam. It may not be strong enough. So let's take this hive for example. You want to hold the camera here, Jordan? With this hive, we've got queen excluder, honey super here. It's not affectable, it's not being occupied very strongly. So there's next to no bees in here. It's a small brood chamber, so if anything, this hive could do with a few extra bees. So we're going to give it a few extra bees by putting those honey supers on top of here with one of those one-way doors. So the bee escape goes on, trap side down, and the honey supers will go on top of here. It doesn't matter that you're mixing a few bees from different hives together. That doesn't really matter. So we have to carry them over. The holes Check, no cracks. So we're going to take off because we don't want bees coming through the hole of the inner cover. Checking it up to good and flat. So that can go on, and a good weight on the top. So now what will happen is that any bees that are remaining in these boxes, which are relatively few because we shook them out, are going to go through the bee escape and into the hive below. And we'll just be able to come back in, let's say, a couple of days, because there's 2 supers here, to get those supers off. But given there's so few bees in there, we could probably easily come tomorrow. If they were both full of bees, it might take a couple of days. Sort out. I think we put some brood upstairs in here. How pretty full these is. With this, again, we'll probably separate and put honey in the top part, brood further down, if we have to deal with that. This looks a little fuller. Funnel. Got a bit of honey in there. Let's shake it to go. Okay, this one's getting continuing to be filled up. Okay. Again, this is so heavy I probably don't want to lift it up on top of the same hive. Put these feet here. A long way to go. These feet on there. There's no escape, so what we've done is we've just sort of prepared the yard for some honey removal and for future development of colonies as two-story brood chambers or double brood chambers as opposed to multi-story brood chambers. So for example, we've taken this hive here, and instead of having 3 or more frames of brood in here, actually could you just do it from distance? I'm too close. If you stand over there. So with this colony we've gone from, instead of having 3 brood chambers, we've gone down to 2. So the queen is just occupying this area, and this is now honey that will get removed in a few more weeks. This is honey getting removed in a few weeks, and this is super full of honey. This is super full of honey up here above the bee escape. So the bees are leaving this box into the rest of the colony, and this was some expansion room, and this is filling with honey already. So probably by the end of July, might be able to take this off. It may be the end of August or September, so we don't know. It just depends what the honey flow does. The reason I'm running quite a few of my hives in this yard as double brood chambers is that when I overwinter a lot of my nukes, I'm going to overwinter 2 nukes on top of a large colony. Now I may do some overwintering of 2 nukes over single brood chambers as well, or brood chamber and a half, like a medium and a deep. But so far my experience has been with over double deeps, and that is a really big strong brood nest, and that will produce all the heat we need to help those nukes come through. So making progress of preparing to extract a bit of honey or harvest a bit of honey. We've got maybe 1, 2, 3, 4 deep brood chambers full of honey and a medium or 2. So that's going to be a few hundred pounds to take off shortly. And in the meantime, we've put queen excluders on to get the colonies into a more manageable size. I'm Peter Cowan, the Bee Whisperer. See you next time.